What is up, YouTube? We are back in the garage once again with this little baby CB350 motor. Here's where we are at. Went through. This is missing one piston ring. It is not actually missing. I took it off. Brought this over to the shop. I got a small little crappy parts washer over there. Went through, soaked the heads. I did not spend a ton of time because I am going to take these apart and then we're going to go through and thorough clean everything after. But the head is off. Cylinder's still sitting in the tank. Going through that. The reason I took the piston ring off is to go through and check the ring to cylinder wall clearance. Overall, I thought it was going to be in way worse of shape than it was. Everything on this actually checks out really well. I'm grabbing a flashlight here. On the heads, we have all of the valves. So on the intake, if I turn this light on, we don't get any light coming through the intake ports all the way down the line. Obviously it's face up. Normally when I do this, I'll sit it kind of like this in a darker spot. Same thing on the exhaust. Light through. We have no light coming in behind the valves, which means these valves are actually sealing as they should. Yay-ish. I was really hoping I'd find a bigger issue. I did not. It might just be a little carb thing, but we got to regasket the thing, and like I said, it's much easier working on this motor on my bench than it is at the shop where we're sandblasting and there's dust in the air all the time. So, where we are at now, cylinder head passed the light test. I did the same thing with the one piston ring I took off, dropped it into the cylinder, set it into the bore, shined a flashlight around the backside, and looked for light coming in around the ring. That will show you a cylinder that is out of round. That checked out as well. No light around the backside of the ring. The only concerning thing that I saw on the internal side of that motor, and I will add, maybe not in this video, since I left the cylinder at the shop in the parts tank, once I get that super cleaned up, I'll put the light on there. From the bottom, where the piston stops on the stroke, the bottom section of the cylinder that hasn't been getting rubbed by piston rings is nice, has really nice cross hatching. On the top side, it is near mirror finish polished. You don't really want that. So I think as of right now, we're gonna get a gasket set and a rehone. And I got to double check on what the availability of rings is for this. But we're going to do a stock bore re-ring, rehone the cylinders, and slap it all back together. Send it down the road. I think that's more than adequate for how nice everything actually looks in here. I really expected a valve to be hanging up or expected some major problems. I don't know on the upper side of the valves, which is tonight's project. So this will be a quick little time lapse with some free YouTube tunes, and I'll blast this apart real quick, get all the valves out, use my fancy backwards labeled mechanism, and go from there. Stick around. Should be fun. All right, in all of my laziness, that brand new vise that I got, I think I posted that in one of the older videos, I did not actually go through and set that up yet. But we're gonna use our fancy valve tool once again. Got this, this is not tight. I know this is the worst thing you can do for an aluminum cylinder, but it's literally just resting in there as a stabilizer. So I'm gonna get this valve tool to set up for these little baby micro valves, and we will time lapse the rest as I start going through this. Okay, I turned the head around because that will give me a lot more room on the back side of this, and then you can see the little keeper removal part. But it's irrelevant. Time lapse the rest of this away.
Baby, you give me ice and fire.
So, first two are out. I can't believe how light the spring pressure is, but given how small all of this is, that makes perfect sense. Now, I'm going to throw the intake valve back in here. The seals are still on here, but this right here feels pretty good. Not a lot of wiggle back and forth. However, on the exhaust, and I don't know how well this is going to show up on camera. If we go to the exhaust port, the seal came off. And by that I mean the seals are not on there on the exhaust side. If I take the end of this, not a ton of play. I think that should be okay. But there's definitely a little bit of wiggle here. Especially there's a little bit of oil sitting right here. I could see it squishing back and forth. So, we're going to kind of see what happens on that one. Back to the time lapse. And there you have it. Head is completely disassembled. Sitting here on the bench, along with all of the parts laid out. Lost one of these. It ran away from me in the garage, so I had to spend a couple minutes chasing that one down. It's the one downside to doing it upright vertically in the vise. If you're sitting on the table, and I got the collar underneath, but then it gets all weird and janky down here. Whatever. Lost it. Found it in the garage. Decided to roll pretty far away, actually. Rolled all the way over, hit the door, and dropped. So, now everything's laid out. You got your intake valves. So small. But, on the back side of the valves, lots of oil, lots of debris, lots of burning. Carbon, and all of that other fun stuff. But, everything's laid out. Good to go. Exhausts are the smaller ones. These are the ones on the front now. I remade my template. I put X's through the E's, and now they're all I's-ish. But we're going to clean all these up. I'm just going to blast all the carbon off of these. And then, if I can find a valve lapping tool small enough, I'd like to just re-lap these into the seats. I have not looked at the seats yet. So, bare head on top. You got valve seals on the intake, none on the exhaust. Exhaust ports are all super black and corroded and dirty. Not corroded, but carboned up. And then if we look at the back side on the seals themselves, I've definitely seen better. Hopefully this will show up on camera. The intake side actually has a nice, real clean mating area. I think it's just the exhaust side that's super carboned up. So if we can clean up these exhaust port mating surfaces, we will be in much better shape. Like I said, that real shiny section where the intake sits, that's exactly what you want. On the exhaust, however, hit this with a rag real quick. Lots of carbon, no clean edge. So, figure out a way to relap these valves into the head. At this juncture, a lap would be more than adequate. And same thing on the bowls. Lots of casting ridges on. Yeah, a lot of room for cleanup if you wanted to go crazy on this. But we are 100% not doing that. I said that on the iron head last time. I made it through 3 valve seals on the intakes. Like I said, there's only seals on the intakes of this motor, which isn't uncommon by any means. But 1, 2, 3 removed. 4th one, last one. Pair of pliers on the outside. They're not on there that tight. Let's see if I can do this one-handed here. Hopefully one of those showed up. I just pulled off the little valve seals. All I took, a pair of pliers over the valve seal, pinch, quick little twist, not like grab it tight. It's not that in there that hard. Just a little tension on the outside, spin it, yank it right off. These are getting replaced. They're not getting reused or anything. But now we have a bare head. ready for some thorough cleaning and reassembly. I couldn't leave things be. This one I will. It is not my bike. It is not something that I plan on messing around with a bunch. Just get it cleaned up and running. So thanks for watching. If you're enjoying any of the CB350 rebuild, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. Shoot me a comment below. Don't worry, Harley stuff will be coming back shortly. I talked to Justice today, went over kind of what we wanted to do on the rest of this. He wants nothing to do with painting any of it, so zero paint. I don't think we're going to open up the bottom end because it's been running flawlessly. So basically we'll clean up the crowns of the pistons. I'll pull the pistons off. Just clean all of that up. Clean up the heads. Basically a super thorough, really in-depth tune-up, essentially. Stock bore, stock rings, stock size rings, rather. Rehone on the cylinders. Recut the valve seats. And by recut, I mean relap the valve seats, not actually machine or cut. I don't think we're going to do a deck or anything on the head. I thought about it. I was planning on going that route, but in all honesty, everything on this, it looks really good. I know it sat for several years in between when we got this and got it fired up again. Maybe that explains some of the washed out cylinder walls. I'm not an expert. I don't really know. I do know that I would feel 100% comfortable if this was one of my bikes. Slapping this back together with a down and dirty, just quick freshen up, re-ring it, send her. We're going to try it, see what happens. If it leaks all over the place, then we'll address that down the line. I'll probably do a little bit of gasket sealer or gasket, I don't know if I'm going to use RTV or maybe even the copper stuff. Copper stuff on the base gasket and head gasket. When it goes back together, we'll just do a quick little spray on there to fill in any of the gaps that we have. But overall, these heads actually look really good. No gouges, no big sections of aluminum, nothing chewed up. Find out. Stick around. Like I said, hit that like or subscribe button if you want to follow along with the rest of the build when we get this back in here. And update on the Evo. Also, hey, he keeps bringing me all these broken bikes. On the Evo, got it running, got oil pressure up to the head, yay. It's got a little bit of a clatter down on the bottom end. I don't like it. I did not open up the bottom end on that bike. We ran it kind of as is. Was hoping to get away with it. I know I did look through the top end. If you go back in the Evo Sporty Chopper basket case videos, you'll see all of that. Everything looked like it checked out, but again, he plans on putting a ton of miles on this. So, if we're going to do it, let's just make a brand new bike. I think we're going to, once this is done, back in the bike, and he gets the Honda back, we might yank the motor out on the Sporty again and do a full teardown on that, even though it's a huge pain in the ass. Nobody likes having to do it twice. However, I have a couple concerns just based on the startup and the break-in and the runnability procedure, and I'm not going to let it leave knowing that there could be potentially a ticking time bomb on the inside of the motor. So we'll be digging into the Evo Sporty soon. Bear with the Honda stuff until we get to that point. Thanks for watching. Catch you guys later.